call this meeting to order at 7:35. And I'm going to put this beautiful flower back here so I can see people. And we will ask Rod if he would, our chief, if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'd ask Les if he would offer a prayer, please.
Dear Father in heaven, as we meet together tonight as City Council and community, Father, we wish to give thee thanks for all of our many blessings. We're grateful for this place in which we have to live. We're grateful for the families and individuals that reside here in our town and look for their way in the world. Father, we're grateful for those who watch over us and protect us, our police and first responders, and others that keep us safe. Father, bless them and keep them safe as they do their job and let them go home in safety. Father, we ask that thou would watch over us as we talk about the affairs of the city, as we deliberate and communicate one with another, that we might be able to have understanding, have insight into the issues and into others' thoughts and feelings and ideas, and that we might be able to come to decisions as we need to. Also help us, Father, as we do so, that we would be open-minded and open-hearted, that as we listen and talk one to another, that we would figure out the things that we need to. We're grateful, Father, for all those that help us, all the workers in our city and all the ones on the outside, even to individuals that take care of one another. We're so very grateful. Father, we're grateful this time of year and ask that thou would bless us, that I have that Christmas spirit, not just this time of year, but throughout all the time. Father, we ask that as we leave, we travel in safety. We're grateful for these things and ask and pray these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Council, if you don't have any questions on the minutes, I would ask for a motion to approve calendar items or consent agenda items 1A and B.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve consent calendar items 1A and B.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded that we approve calendar items 1A and B. Jeff?
Aye.
Blake?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
4 ayes. Next on the agenda, public hearing to establish fees for extra meetings with an engineer, with the city engineer. This is an action item. We haven't had a public hearing, right?
No.
No,
Okay.
this is for to be able to establish that fee because it's over 5%. So we have to have a public
Okay.
hearing.
All right. DJ, you're up.
Okay. Who's here tonight for this agenda item? I recognize some of the faces here in the back, but I don't know if I know. Yeah, you've been here before too, right? You're the engineer for these folks. Okay.
I don't think there's probably anybody.
I don't think there is anybody. I don't know if there is anybody either, but just to go ahead and comply with the requirements then for the hearing, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Invite anyone who would like to speak in favor of the proposed subsequent meeting fees as published, if they'd like to do that. Anyone? Dave?
BJ, I have a question.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to tease me. Go ahead.
I do have a question. So in the ordinances on the preliminary plat, the pre-plat meeting.
Yes, the pre-application
meeting.
Yeah.
So the meetings we're talking about are in addition to that.
Subsequent. So the pre-application meeting is what we do prior to the preliminary plat every time. We never charge for that, but you charge us for your time, and it wasn't covered in the review of the preliminary plat. And so that back during budget time was established at $500. Okay, this one came up after we've had many meetings where the engineer was called to participate in the meeting because the developer requested it. And we would get charged, but we had no way to recoup those fees, so it was on the backs of the taxpayers. So therefore, that's why, when I talked to you, you said that it would be by, the best way to do it is by actual cost, because some may last 30 minutes, some may last 2 hours.
Right.
So you're correct, it is in addition to the initial $500.
Okay. And the reason I just want to make sure is because in the ordinances, it specifically says there is not a fee for the pre-application.
For the pre-application, okay, we'll probably have to change that then, because we just
Okay.
did the fee increase in October.
Right.
We haven't had any to charge that anyway at this time.
Okay, so I
So
just
just
want to make that
a
comment,
cleanup.
make sure
Yeah.
that we weren't
Okay.
talking about doing something that was contrary to the law.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, we need to do some cleanup, it sounds like, on the ordinance, so, okay.
All right.
No, good question, good feedback. Anybody else, anybody want to speak in favor of? Anybody want to speak in opposition to? Anyone want to have questions or neutral comments of general nature? All right, I'm not going to belabor this. At this time, we'll close the hearing and turn the matter over to the council for discussion and deliberation, and if you choose a decision.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Jeff?
Well, I think we need to do it. I mean, it's something we talked about at length. You know, if we had our own engineer, it'd be one thing, but we have to hire out for it. It's not fair for the public to be paying for those kind of costs, so I'm in favor of it.
All right. Like,
Feel the same as Jeff, but also have been involved in them. So, and once again, it's hard when you try to have a meeting, think it's done, and then they want to have 4, 5, 6, 12 phone calls in and out of that. So I think we need to start charging it because the taxpayers, anytime we get a hold of Dave, it costs us. So we need to have that. So
All right.
it's not the taxpayers.
Kim?
I wish we had the means to have Dave here full time, but
We can't afford it.
he's a plethora of
Yeah.
information and help, so I agree that we have to move forward with this.
No, I said I can't afford you.
So I agree that we
Okay.
have to move forward.
Adam?
Should we just make a motion?
Yeah.
Just make a motion that we'll go ahead and establish the fee for additional meetings. And it's based upon the actual cost we were charged, correct? Okay, on the actual charges, cost that we were charged.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And moved and seconded that we go ahead and establish a fee for extra meetings, whatever the actual cost is that we are charged for the engineer. All in favor? 4 in favor. Okay. Next on the agenda is discussion plot approval, well, I guess discussion for box crossing subdivision.
Mayor, one thing before you start here, I was talking with Mr. Taggart before the meeting, and we'd had a little bit of discussion. Apparently, at the work meeting last week, some representatives from the city had requested, Jeff,
Yes.
had requested renditions of different combinations of the homes. And Mr. Taggart contacted me earlier today and told me that you had prepared those, and we were going to bring them tonight. We exchanged a few emails kind of talking about this, and I know they presented these to the council this evening. I'm going to advise you to not view those, not consider those in your deliberations tonight. And this isn't a criticism of you guys for trying to respond to the city's request, so don't misunderstand. But because it wasn't part of the public hearing process, I think it would be inappropriate for the council to consider that in its decision. We need to focus on what was presented through the hearing process, through the application process, and where the hearing has been closed and we're really looking at the deliberation. We need to stick to working off of what the record is. So I'm not saying you throw it away. It might become relevant at some point. You want to hold on to it, that's fine. I don't think there was any ill intent by the Anderson Hicks group in sharing those.
They did at my request.
Right.
an ongoing thing before this meeting, so
Right.
I don't see there's any issue with us looking at them. I mean, we won't take them into consideration, as all things will have to be based on what we heard and viewed at the public meeting, but
Yeah.
it was just an ongoing thing I wanted to see for myself.
Well, I understood, and there've been a number of people have had, but where it wasn't produced
Right.
in the public hearing process,
I
and the
understand.
public has not had an opportunity to see that as well and respond. My counsel to the council is to not rely on that this evening, as part of whatever decision you're going to make. So apologies to you guys. Like I said, you just did what they had asked you to do, so no problem on that end. But that's my advice to the
Okay.
council. Okay.
Well, and where it's not a public hearing, if we have a question, we'll ask you, but we've got to be careful on what questions we ask too. So everybody pay attention to that. So I'm going to start, and then I'm going to turn it over to each one of you. I've looked a lot at this, and I've had a lot of people call and complain and be against it. And the interesting thing is as I've been out going door to door and stuff, most of the people, and this is a positive note for them, so there's pros and cons. This is the positive side, is most of the people that are complaining live on the same size lot that they're proposing, or very, very close to it. I'm not saying everybody. And if you took their single car garage away, the house would be the same size, if not a little bit bigger, what they're proposing versus what the people are living in that are complaining. Now, the issue we have is in some subdivisions, the streets are so narrow, and there's so many cars that we cannot move snow. You can't pass two cars. This subdivision is totally different because it's got nice wide streets, like what we're requesting now. So that's a positive side. Now, I'm going to say on the negative side is it's if all the houses look very similar and are all about the same size, then they've got a 10-year plan that these houses have to be lived in by the owner for 10 years. But after that 10 years, it could become complete rental, investment for rental people. And that depends on the economy too. So that's the negative side of it. So I've tried to look at the pros and the cons, just to give people some ideas of it's going to increase traffic. The street coming across the canal is probably one of the widest. Coming down to the stoplight is one of the widest streets we have in the city. Justin, how wide is it? You remember?
I believe that was 66 or 72.
Okay, because
it is one of the widest ones.
Yeah, well, I know whenever we have to fix anything on it, it's like the most expensive. So
You're talking about Center Street?
Center Street, yeah. So it's one of the widest streets we have in Shelley.
Right away is like 9 feet with that side of it, right?
And right away, it might be 99 on that
It's
one.
99, I think. It's one of the largest streets right away from the city.
So that is a positive for their subdivision because the street is already a very wide street and it has a wide right of way. Where it does come to a stoplight, that's a positive. So I've looked at it and I've looked at it as positives and I've looked at it as negatives. Negatives, you're going to have an impact of a lot more vehicles, and with those vehicles, you're going to have, if it's like most houses in Shelley, if you've got 2 drivers, you got 3 cars. If you've got 4 drivers, you got 5 cars. So who knows on that part. So that's just what as I've done my research and stuff, and I'm not saying anything on the technical side of it because I'm trying to be, I guess, the devil's advocate here for both sides of that. Now, you guys, I'm assuming, have done your research on the technical side of it because you were supposed to. So I'm hoping that you guys have I've got technical stuff too, but I don't want us all to say the same thing. So that's why at this point, I've got pros and I've got cons to this subdivision. Does that make sense? So, Adam, you're next in line.
Okay. First off, I'd like to thank Anderson Nix Group for considering Shelley. I think that's great. And I think the subdivision, I think there's a lot of thought that's gone into it. I know there's a lot of good stuff to it. I wanted to kind of clarify as far as the sewer line. Do we have a development agreement signed with the parks yet for the sewer? So there's really not sewer coming up per se. I mean, it's been locked down, right? I mean, because we don't have a development agreement yet.
We don't have that development agreement yet to get them to get their stuff completed.
Right. Okay. And then the water line, there's not an issue with the water, I believe, right, Justin? There's not, we have water that the line will come in with enough water for the subdivision.
Or Dave, do they need to put a booster station? What?
The water line needs to have some improvements, but the developer
They have agreed to,
make
correct.
the appropriate improvements, so
Okay.
there's not a water line issue.
Okay.
But just on the sewer line, just to remind you, there's two components. There's the development agreement with the Parks subdivision. That is a portion of the sewer line. And then there is the Fur Street transmission component.
Correct.
And we still do not have a signed construction contract for that. We're waiting. We have issued the notice of award to the general contractor, and they have not yet responded. It's not a problem. They have 10 days to respond, so we're not late.
Yeah,
We just haven't got it.
Yeah, okay, all right. And then I know trash was probably one of the biggest issues that Justin had, but it sounds like that the developers are willing to work with that as far as a third party, I think. I think that's what it was stated in
I
here.
don't know if we've got trash figured out, Adam, but I know.
Okay.
Like, it's a big concern, right?
I'm just trying to cover all, I want to make sure we have all our bases covered.
I haven't heard an answer on the trash yet, and I'm aware. So it's something we gotta work.
Okay.
Well, and the other thing you gotta remember is it's not 375 homes instantly.
Correct, right.
You know, it's
It'll
gonna be 70
so many per,
per year. So if we can figure out a way to compensate for, and for those and what else is coming on, and then we have a few years to. So to be honest with you, I look at it in this sense: if when they build the first 70 or whatever number it is, they build the first homes, we don't get any tax revenue for the first year. When the second set comes in, we've got the tax revenue from the first set.
correct, right,
So hopefully we can offset some of those costs.
right, that'll be coming in. Okay. And then, so some of the concerns, or a couple of the concerns that I feel like I still have and haven't necessarily been answered. I know you brought up Center Street being a big wide street. It's still only one lane on that road. So you add all of those cars, whether it's shallow or wide, you're still gonna have be an issue as far as traffic goes, in my opinion. Because I don't think that I don't think we plan on doing anything with that road is more than what it already is. So, and then one of the concerns I have too is enough green space in this particular subdivision, because I feel like with that many homes and that many kids, because that's supposed to be families that are going to be buying these homes, I don't know that there's enough green space for all of those kids. I know they're going to have bigger yards, or I guess longer yards, but that's one of my concerns. And I'll hand it off to Kim.
Okay, I was just looking in notes here. The one thing about the green space, I believe it says in our ordinances.
Do you want to write it? 16:7.
What is it?
10, 16:7. You need your glasses on.
I know.
It's in 10, 16, and 7.
Okay, you
In
just.
section G, it says public sites and open spaces.
Oh yeah. So number 2. Open areas and or recreational areas may be required in subdivisions with lots of less than 1 acre in size when the commissions deem such spaces are necessary to the health and safety and convenience of all residents of the subdivision. And I guess with me being over Parks and Rec for as many years as I have, that's a concern I have because I know how our soccer, we took on soccer a few years ago, all our sports and everything, it's like we don't have enough park facility. And so that's a concern of mine with the green spaces is if we have enough to bring on this many homes, do we have enough green space? So that's something that I look at too, Adam. So this is what, my 9th year on council, and I thought the chicken issue was a hard issue. But this is the first time that
You've never dealt with chicken issue. Either.
you have no idea. It's hard for me because you guys have came and you met the ordinances. You met everything that we've asked. Now I have to admit everything has been very minimal, like our minimal ordinances, and we've never had that before. My concern is, and I'll go back to the comprehensive plan. I know that's not everything on it, but a lot of the homes are what we already do have in Shelley. Those size of homes, we have a lot of those. So the other thing that I worry about, and it's also because I'm the liaison with the school, is I'm going to hit that with Superintendent Williams. I worry there again for our school district. And it's just not this subdivision coming in, it's all these other ones that have been before. It's going to make a bind on our infrastructure when it comes to our schools. And I thought Mr. Williams did a great job with all his numbers and information that he provided during the public hearing. And he says that, we don't have the financial resources that we need. It could, and I'm not a numbers person, but let's see, it could increase our population. I was about 20%. Is that the number, 20%? That concerns me. It concerns me, and I think it's because it's a little personal, because I was born and raised here. I have grandkids that live here. That's hard on a school and on a city. On the good, and I'm with the mayor, I've had people that have called me and emailed me and texted me that they are concerned about the development, but then I listened to, you guys have done everything correctly, and I also have kids that I could see that would purchase a home in this area. So it's very hard for me. So I'm trying to weigh both sides of the thing, what could benefit Shelley and what's good, and the growing. We owe it to our constituents to do the right decision in everyone's eyes. So I think I'm with the mayor. I see both sides of it. And it's a really hard concern because there's good and bad. I agree with Adam on the sewer because that hasn't been written out, or a contract hasn't been done. That's one of my concerns.
But it sounds like it's pending. I mean, really. Right.
With the sewer.
It's pending. We've got finalized stuff that BJ sent back to them. We haven't had a meeting with them to talk about what that looks like, and they're requesting that.
Yeah, as far as
getting that done, as far as parks goes.
As far as the development agreement goes, yeah, I sent a draft. We had been waiting on some information, but we got that. Sent them a draft last Friday. I haven't heard any response yet. I know they've expressed that they're eager to get it signed, and I think we're close. Anyway, that's where we're at, though.
Another thing that I'd like that they've done is that the third-party HOA. I think that's a good thing. That's something that we haven't heard about in this area. And I know they would put that in the CCNRs. I don't know if the third-party HOA has the teeth, I guess, to stay consistent and everything, but that's a good thing to have the third-party HOA to. But then I go back to fire chief's comments on about if there is a fire and the HOA doesn't have the teeth and there is parking, and I worry about that too. So any more thoughts from?
If you're done, pass it down the line.
Okay, pass it. Okay,
If you're
Lay.
done.
I might be
Yeah,
done
well
for
done.
this minute.
Okay,
Yeah,
I've got more comments.
So do
yeah.
I. So.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad everybody's got more time. Do you want to go through
No,
comments
go ahead.
first? I'm all good with that. Jeff, when he came and said, "Hey, you need to be on the council," he didn't say things like this would be hard, and they're hard because you got the constituents talking to us about it. But I also have been really digging into the ordinances. I got a few things to bring up that aren't pertaining to Fox Crossing that we got to talk about too, eventually, because there's things that we've slacked off on that I found from my notes from when I was on P&Z. But according to our Title 10 and Section 16 that talks about neighborhoods and such, it states right there that we need to have some green spaces and some stuff. And that's probably my biggest con is there's green, I get it, but I live in the smaller neighborhood. Let's not be wrong, and I'll be open and honest about it. I live in the small neighborhood, and my lot is just bigger than the lots we're talking about. So I understand they would be adequate for what you want to do. Also, mine was built in 1962. So we've learned more as a society and as planning and as all that kind of stuff. So we really shouldn't be going backwards. We should be looking forward and seeing that. I think. I also think that it talks about recreational spaces and others. There's really nothing in that neighborhood. Just be houses. And I've been to those in other places and grew up in two different ones. The majority of my life I spent on an acre, so I feel the need to have a little space, but I don't because I can't afford it, so I don't have it. And I've never looked for it afterwards because my wife doesn't want it because she grew up in a neighborhood. So as I looked at the different ones, things that kind of stand out are that a couple of things inside of others 10.3, 10.5 stuff that we need to fix on our side that wasn't brought up in the public hearing, so it can't be brought up now. But there are ordinances that we have that were, hey, we should have had this done, and P&Z should have done that too, and we need to help educate those guys on that too. But I also have had a lot of people call me and tell me why, what for, why isn't it just gone? What's going on? And I had to help explain. I had one lady all upset at me, and I said, it's the same size lot as you live on. They didn't realize. They had also heard that the streets were shorter, and I like that we have the wide streets that we put in there. So as we've all been talking about the pros and the cons, the pros seem to be adequate. The cons seem to be that how do you justify in an ordinance people's thoughts and views? What do you guys think? I'm guessing that's where you have comments too, but what do you guys think? Because we all have different ideas. We're all different people. Right.
Okay, are you passing it on to Jeff now?
I'll pass it on to Jeff.
I guess the question I guess I asked for you and Adam is, you talk about green space. We haven't required that from any of the other developments on green space, and I think it's fair to note at this point that these lots, although the width is 64, 65 feet, their depths are big enough that you're gonna have a big backyard. You put a house on there the size that they want to put on there, you're gonna have a backyard that's 65, 70 feet long, 73 feet long. You can play quite a game of touch football in the backyard. And that size of backyard. So we're not talking about urban streets with green space.
I understand that. I think what me and Adam, and I'm not speaking for Adam, I'll speak for me.
Yeah,
what I look at it is I look at 375 houses. Right. I can't do 275 houses and put a park on one end and maybe a park on the other end, or have some green space in the front of the development to make it so that you're just not looking at a fence as you drive down Taylor Highway? Because reality is, if we don't have a study done, and if the county, which Bingham County does not, take care of the roads as well as other counties, we know that just driving Highway 91. I realized it the other morning, but they're going to run into fences. People are going to go off the road into somebody's fence. So I'm thinking that's the kind of green space I'm talking about. I get the houses. I live in that neighborhood, right?
Right.
Mine are a little wider lots, not as deep. But if you gave me a deeper lot, I can see the green.
Yeah, I guess, there's things on development agreements when we talk about road right of ways and things like that, where we will have some green space, it would require some trees and things like that. But, if we're talking about parks and issues like that, we've never required anything by way of parks other than just what we have to.
There's no requirement for it, but it states in the ordinance that we need to consider that. And it states in the comprehensive plan that we want green space and parks like that. So
Right.
I have to talk about it. It has to be part of the discussion.
Yeah, Adam, what was your
I'm the same way. I'm the same thing. But we've always looked at, even in the past subdivisions that we've looked at the green space and felt like they were probably adequate for what they were doing.
Right. That's
We've
where
never had a division at this
Size, scale, scope.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm frustrated. I mean, this has consumed my mind for several weeks, and I'm frustrated because for several reasons. The majority of my constituents, everyone I've talked to, is against this thing, but they're also ignorant as to exactly what it's all about. I mean, I've heard the same stories. Streets are too small, and I'm thinking, where'd you get that? The comments were, well, the lots are going to be puny. The houses are going to be too close together. No, they're not. They're going to meet. In fact, they're going to be further apart than the homes in your development are. They're going to be 10 feet apart from one another. They're going to be 62.5-foot wide streets.
They're gonna be 20 feet apart because there's 10 feet.
Well, yeah, I mean, for the property line, 10 feet.
They're going to be wider than what I have in my
line.
Which some of them are closer.
Because
Some of them
yours
are
is
further.
7.5. So I think the public is misinformed, and when there's people in the public who just don't want new development, my response to them is, I'm not going to sit on this council and tell people how they can use their land. If someone wants to buy land, put out the money, develop it, they can develop it to our ordinances and to the standards that we have. So I think everything else that has been discussed is just collateral. I think one of the things we've gotten bogged down in with a lot of stuff has been collateral. The HOA, you can talk about, well, the HOA could be disbanded. 2/3 of the development could disband the HOA, and it could go away, and oh my heavens, what's going to happen to it? But that's irrelevant because we've had other developments that do the same thing, and it's an irrelevant issue. So I think looking back at the way I look at it is I think it's a fairly decent subdivision. It meets all the minimum standards, as you say, Kim. That's the problem I kind of had, was the fact that it's a minimum standard. I worry about some issues that have no bearing on our decision here tonight, but I worry about a micro market. Where the homes are so much similar to one another in this development, when it goes forward, it will create its own micro market.
What is micro market?
Micro market would be, in my opinion, is that when you have homes that are fairly similar to one another, like the tract home subdivision, you have homes that sell in development. They set the standard for what the selling market prices on the homes. So you have 2 or 3 homes that sell in a 375 unit subdivision. That's going to be your market. You're not going to go. It doesn't matter what happens in any other part of town.
Because the lot sizes and the houses are almost all the same.
There's
a few things you can change different with the houses. Like you can change what you put on the outside, your shingles, your windows, your doors, those kind of things you can do. But that's it. The house is the same size as the dude next door. So that's what he's talking about.
So that can be a plus and it can be a hazard. I mean, you could end up having a market that's retarded. But that there again is not the issue what we really have here at hand. So I look at it, I look at my constituents, and I tell the people in the public, I sit on the city council to represent them. I sit on the city council to represent them in protecting the city. And I think the issues that are pertinent, that tie back to the meeting that we had the other night, are issues about whether this development can be sustained in our community based on some of the comments that were made back at that meeting. And some of the comments that concerned me based on that meeting were from the school board, from the school superintendent about the schools. But then again, the flip side of that is, I don't know a school district in the valley that hasn't had modular units. I mean, all of, the Bonneville Bees had modular units for years and years and years. And
They're still do.
But just because they
Yeah.
had them, why should we try them?
I'm not saying we shouldn't.
Okay.
But I'm just, one of the concerns that he did say that I did take to heart was the fact that we don't have the bonding capacity for a new school
Correct.
till 2024. I think that's a factor that's very important. One of the comments was by our own engineer. I am concerned about the sewer. I'm concerned about the situation that's happened there. I'm concerned about our situation with the parks and the way that whole thing has worked out. I mean, I know it's eventually going to work out, but today we don't have an agreement. We don't have anything in place. We have a bid out, and we don't have any way to pay for that line. And I think we've got the cart before the horse on this issue. So, yeah, it's not a black and white issue, but I think it's one that I don't know. I think that they have done a fairly decent job of presenting this.
Sure.
And I think it's become convoluted by the fact that the public is rabid because they saw two developments occur and they're upset. But I once again will say to the public and to this body, the majority of the development that's occurring in this area is outside the city. Because as of date, you have one development that's starting, we have another one that's kind of underway, we have one that's proposed, and
one that's approved.
it's not like all the developments that are occurring around the city, just outside of our comprehensive zone, which is really where all the problems are coming. So that's the issues I have, but I think the real issues that we need to center in on are those things that apply in our ordinances, that apply to some of the testimony that was given in the meeting. And that is that, financially, does this affect the city? How does this financially affect not just the city, but the school district and the fire district? And how does it environmentally affect the city when we don't have sewer today that's effectively in place? Those are just some of the issues. But otherwise, I think they presented a very good plan. And when I've told the mayor this on numerous occasions that I'm really pro growth. I want to see our town grow, not rapidly, but I want to see it grow comprehensively and in a sensible manner. Because a town that's not growing is a town that's dying. And I don't want to turn away good developers if they're going to do a good job like these guys likely will. So that's where I'm at right now. Anybody have any questions of what I said?
No, I do have, we talk about how this will increase the city by 20%, right?
Not overnight though.
No, not overnight. I agree. So the other thought that I had when Leif and you were and even the mayor was talking, if it's going to increase the city by 20% or 5 years or whatever, and it came out that a lot of our other houses are that small too. How much of our total population 5 years down the road is going to be the smaller homes, the smaller lots? Is that what we want in the city of Shelley? Because all of that area that you live, all of the over in the Bird Edition, they're all smaller lots and smaller homes. And so this is really going to magnify the smaller homes in Shelley.
I agree, but the bottom line is that's what our ordinances say. I mean,
And maybe the smaller homes
our
is the
ordinance
new
is-
thing to, like, the market is so crazy.
50?
Maybe the smaller home is what everyone will be able to afford.
that may well be
I
going
was gonna say,
forward.
you've seen that show Tiny Homes, haven't you?
No, yeah, it's what people, that's what people can afford right now.
Discovery Channel.
I heard your biggest concern is sewer and school.
My biggest concern is sewer, school, and somewhat the fire. You know, by way of funding, I'm worried about the funding of issues, and I'm worried about the accommodating of meeting enough sewer and utilities to be able to handle this development. Those are the issues I really have. It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with the fact with us. And I think we need to protect the city in that regard, because that's the most important thing, is that we don't get carried away and get ourselves into trouble, because we've never done that before, and I don't want to see us do it now. But those are probably my biggest issues I have right now.
Well, and Sandy, do you have the minutes? I remember Justin, I don't have Justin's stuff in front of me, but I remember Justin bringing us those deals lined out, the fact that for the first little while, we would be able to handle it, because it would be inside of a budget, but
In water and sewer.
in water and sewer, and also in the garbage guy, an extra guy, and besides, we're gonna have to take care of those streets. So a truck and pushing snow and doing that stuff. I thought for the first few that you were okay. Your numbers at the bottom were not bad, but at the end, as it grew to the end, I don't think we have that capacity. Correct? Is that what it said in the
Well, it's
minutes?
not just that, but the police as well. The police were another
So,
issue.
so
Well, yeah.
yeah, I wanted, that was one of my thoughts. Or one of my comments. I think there is an issue with the police, because like we have one leaving, but we're proposing one tonight to take this place. You know, it's not like we can go out and try and find new police officers. It's difficult. And so we've already approved that the 1109 spot, the extra spot, before any of this other growth coming in. And so that I just feel like maybe might be a little too quick
Well, I think so too.
for
because
us
guess what?
for us
That-
as a police department.
that comes directly from all the taxpayers. But once again, we don't get tax revenue for new development till after the first year. So that goes for parks, it goes for everything else we got. But we still have to take care of it for that first year.
Sure.
So that still is part of that rub, is that I think that's where it addresses it in the ordinances under controlled growth, right?
Yeah.
Don't run faster than you have the means to, because
Well,
if you have too many people to police, then what happens? Now we're relying on the county more. Who's going to pay for that?
Well,
That
we
comes back to
wouldn't be
the other.
relying on the county.
Well, to help with that.
So real quick, you guys talk about the schools being overwhelmed. Well, the county has approved roughly almost 500 houses in our area that haven't been built yet. So, doesn't matter what we do here, our schools are going to be overrun. The other problem is about 15 years ago, and it could be 20 years ago, the county approved Journey's Inn subdivision. Had to have community water, and it had to have fire hydrants. Now, everything they approve out in the county has no fire hydrants, no fire prevention whatsoever. Well, at least if we have them in the city, we have fire hydrants, we have fire prevention, we can protect the homes to the best of our ability, and we have a fire department that can do that.
right.
Once you get out in the county, you don't have that anymore. The more houses you build, the less ability you have. If we do not bring houses into the city, they're just going to keep going out, and we're going to have more and more problems. But the kids are coming to the schools whether
I know. That's
this
true.
came in or not. The schools are going to be overran.
That's what I was saying. It's not uncommon for there to be modular units. But then again, these are comments that were made in that public hearing that were negative to this, that does affect the citizens of our city. And when they're negative against it, and they don't, but it does give fodder to what they have to say, that, that support for why they're against it. And so I don't think it's something we can just outright dismiss in that regard, because it is a factor that does affect it, and there's a number of people that they tie to that fact strongly, especially a number of women I know that contacted me tied to that strongly. They, whether it be right or wrong, they tie to it, and it ties into our it ties into our code where we talk about availability of public services to accommodate the proposed subdivision. Well, that includes the school districts as well, fire services and everything else. So.
Well, I guess that's, going off of what I was just saying, that's one of my concerns. I've talked to Chief. Can we adequately protect additional population other than what we've already got kind of going on? Well, you guys know how hard it is to hire police officers.
I understand. So, but I guess the question I have for you, Adam, is 375 homes, does that produce enough income for us to hire another officer? I mean, how many officers do we need? Do we have any kind of, we don't have any kind of study that shows that so many homes we have to have a new officer, right? We got a new officer because we got some new apartments. So
correct.
What's the standard?
I think that the issue is right now it's hard to fill positions. So if we need another one, it's hard. It's not that we can't pay them; it's that we have a hard time filling that position
because we don't pay at the top end of the scale.
It's not necessarily that.
We're not big enough. Right?
Not even that. We're only a couple of bucks less than the average.
Yeah.
I mean, no, we're not a couple of bucks. We're less than a buck the average. So I don't think that's the issue.
Okay.
I think it's just an issue that's happening everywhere.
Sure.
Sandy, do we have?
And I don't know that I want to compound that.
Yeah, we don't want to compound. Do we have what off that spreadsheet for the legislation? What we would get? I mean, can we do a quick down and dirty on numbers to see what we would get in revenue? Year 1, 2, and 3.
She did that.
I did that, and
I
off
thought
my
it was in there
head.
saying.
I can tell.
I just didn't see it.
My head.
I tried to find it. I guess I didn't look deep enough.
Where you're looking, are you guys ready for a thought?
Yep. Throw it out there.
I know you guys are not.
Throw it out there.
There's gonna be people that's probably not getting at me for this one, but
Throw it out there.
if we are so hard up, our police, our schools, our public works and everything, are we gonna put a moratorium out there?
That's my point. That's exactly my point.
Are you guys ready to okay, well, we can't do it for these guys, we can't do it for anybody else.
And so I think in discussing this, we really have to be honest with ourselves. Are we going to do that? Are we saying that we're not going to have any more development?
That's exactly what we're saying. If we are so hard up that you don't think that any of this is gonna happen, are you guys ready to say, we need to put a moratorium out there because
On what we're talking
Property tax.
about. On the 70 houses at the current house.
Oh, not the first year, no,
450.
that's all 375.
That's all
Based
375
on
based
a
off of
price of 375,000, or valuation by the county of 375,000.
which they're going to get a break for being a homeowner and all those other fun things. So
And
it's gonna be half.
I took off the homeowner's
you did do that.
exemption for that, yes. But I don't know, the appraisers may appraise it differently.
The
too,
market
so.
might change and they might be more, they might be less.
Do about 375.
So you figure that into, and then you figure into parks, similar type number, give or take, maybe a little bit more because they're bigger lots, they're bigger houses. So we're talking maybe year 3,
Do you
4,
guys?
we're gonna have $1 million in revenue. But what's it gonna cost us? I guess we come down to those dollars and look at it and say, what's it gonna cost? I don't think it's gonna cost us $1 million, but what's it gonna cost the infrastructure and the others? We already know it costs us $1 million to update a sewer line. How many more sewer lines? And I'm just playing devil's advocate there for you guys. I'm looking at it. Sometimes it comes back down to the numbers. The numbers don't lie. What's it going to cost us? What's it cost us? It costs us X number of dollars for a cop. It costs us X number of dollars for a dude. It costs us X number of dollars for a garbage truck. And every year they keep raising our rates on garbage too. So,
But that we just have, when it comes to enterprise funds, You know, the argument,
You and me shouldn't pay for those, right? Because we live here?
no.
Because
the-
I already
no,
bought
no.
my house, right?
The enterprise fund, I've had this discussion with Sandy.
Okay.
The enterprise funds should cover themselves. And you say, well, yeah, but with development, you're gonna have to have, well, then maybe that has to be it, because we're gonna, like you said, we're gonna grow as a city.
Right.
So our enterprise funds have to reflect some growth, but our enterprise funds for every unit that comes on should be sufficient. Meaning that for every unit, enough units come on, we buy a new garbage truck. For every unit, we pay for those, expense tap fees that we have, for garbage and things of that sort. So our enterprise funds, we can't use that as an argument for one way or the other, because if they're not sufficient, then it's not a city problem. It's not a developer problem. We need to have sufficient enterprise funds to cover every unit comes on and goes off. I mean, that's one of the things I learned was that at IRWA, sitting on that board, is that for a long time we didn't stop and think about what it meant to have one unit come on and add to the facility. You got to have sufficient funds to cover that. And if you don't, then you're gonna be in trouble.
Okay. So move on.
But I think it's a
Well, okay, so here's another interesting fact. We've got the Park Subdivision that's doing townhomes. On those townhomes, they have 5,000 square feet per townhome. How many people came and complained about that at the public hearing? None. Why?
Because at that point they were grumbling, but they weren't afraid about what's happening.
Yeah.
Good point.
Or is it that we do need townhomes?
Because we're looking for that. I can speak for.
The thing with townhomes is because it's the elderly population that usually you have people that come in and take care of your yard and shovel your sidewalk.
I know several people that have moved out also because there's not enough townhomes.
Yeah.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
I know a number of people will have no gray hair on their head living in those townhomes.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't make.
Well, the new ones we have over here, there's people with families living in them that have bought them.
Yeah, my brother's one of them.
So,
is traffic an issue, you guys, at all?
I don't think traffic is for me, just because Center Street's a big street. I do have an issue. I do worry about what's going to happen between there and the bridge. I think that will have to be LID eventually. That's a nasty word. I'm already receiving daggers from our clerk over it.
Say we are not doing that. Figure out how that works.
Okay, so real quick, Justin, do we have enough room to have 2 lanes with people parking on the sides and a turning lane on that road?
I don't think so.
So can I ask Dave a question?
Yeah.
Dave, would it be feasible to say we got to have a traffic study for both of those subdivisions before we say yay or nay? Because we still have a signed developer agreement for the other one, and it brings up a lot of questions we forgot to ask.
So when we were doing the park subdivision, the idea of a traffic impact study came up. And what we decided is we probably didn't need a traffic impact study until the next subdivision came in across the street. And so
there you go. I think asked and answered. Because I know that we talked about their subdivision and the fact that it would only enter and exit off of Center, and then they're like, no, they're going to put the bridge in and go across the canal and do all that stuff because they want to have that access also. And we needed it. So, okay, that's good.
There is a challenge, though, for the traffic impact study, and that is, if you were to look at doing a traffic impact study specific for Fox Crossing, which is what we're talking about tonight.
Right.
They're going to look at what the current traffic load is, and then they're going to estimate what their impact is to that current load. The problem with doing a traffic impact study is it's wrong on day one, because it doesn't include the future traffic coming from parks, and it doesn't include the traffic from the other 500 homes that are out in the subdivision, in the county that are out there, right? So doing a traffic impact study, adding the Fox Crossing to the current load, because those other things aren't built out yet, it's going to show that you don't have a problem.
No would.
Yeah.
Not impactful at all, right?
It's 375 homes, it's just gonna show that, I mean, maybe you'll drop from a level of service A to a B. But you're not gonna drop to a low enough level of service that you're gonna require improvements. I'm not saying that you won't wish you did at some point, but because everything's happening at once, just having one person do it just doesn't really.
Doesn't make the impact that great.
Yeah.
Okay. This is why we have you come and help us do that. Thanks, Dave. So I think he answered your traffic question.
Okay, questions, comments, concerns? Okay, so my comment too is when people leave their subdivision or the park subdivision, if they're working at the hospital or on that side of town, Ammon, they're not gonna come to our stoplight. They're gonna go out in the country and across, because it's faster. So out of those 375 homes,
Half are gonna go one way,
half are gonna go a different direction possibly. You know, so I don't think traffic is gonna be an issue personally. Just for the fact that people will go the fastest way to get there, and the fastest way to get to the hospital is not come out to 91, go up 91, and then Sunnyside. It's to go out and around. Or if you're going working in Ammon or going shopping, whatever you're doing. So I think out of those, we're going to get a lot that'll go the other direction. That's just my thinking.
How pressed are we with the police right now in the city? With meeting demands and
We don't even have double coverage right now.
who we never have? Are we slipping from it?
No,
Yeah,
we
we
haven't. We never have.
We've
But-
never had double coverage.
No.
Not at nighttime.
No.
But
No,
are we,
not at
are we
nighttime.
slipping in
But
another area?
but the growth, we need to have double coverage.
Well, I know we do. And that's gonna require
But that even
a bond.
even if we say yes or no, don't you agree?
I think,
That it's gonna be an
it's
issue.
coming
That
because
we're-
the
it's
county,
coming.
It is,
because
Yeah.
the county,
it is.
the growth
Sure.
is coming period, regardless of whether it's in town or not.
Yeah.
They're coming to town.
Sure. I guess in a way, I feel like sometimes we're putting the cart before the horse. But
With the police or what?
with yeah, and with I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable that I feel like everything that we can take it on. That's mine. Just because of I still think the traffic is going to be an issue. I think that we don't have agreements yet with the parks. It's not in stone yet.
That gives me a lot of heartburn too. I have to admit that's.
But how far off are we with the Is it just
we are
a sign?
we are a matter of, is the verbiage correct and is the wording right that they've agreed to, we've agreed to. So it's a matter of, is it hashed out to the point of, yes, we both agree and can live with it, or is it still up in the air, want to change, want to do, and where are we at with it?
So it's close.
It's close, but it's not signed.
Well, also, as Dave pointed out, we don't have a contractor yet with a contract with the contractor for East First.
We don't have a
That if
signed
something
agreement to put
follows
that
through on
sewer in the
that, then
ground.
it has to be rebid.
And if it has to be rebid, what's going to cost going to come in at, what is everybody's agreement to it, and that'll all change. So I agree. That's like Jeff said, heartburn. That was giving me heartburn every time we think about it, talk about it. It's not done yet. We all have hope. It's Christmas time, but hope's not getting that pipe in the ground.
Well, I go back to Kim's comment. If, in one sense, if we deny this, then we basically need to put a building moratorium on.
That's what you have to ask yourself if
Yeah.
you're ready to do that. And everything we have concerns, we're so close with. This is just me thinking. And do you know what? We're all a little worried. What will it end up look like? Anderson and Hicks has a reputation too, you know. If they put crap out there, you don't think it's gonna affect their business for being around? They're gonna be here 10 years from now also. If they don't hold up to the HOAs and the CCNRs and stuff like that, their name is still on that development. They're still going to be here.
I guess that's true. So Adam, what else gives you concern? Because you seem to be very concerned about it.
Oh, I'm still, the concerns I have is I just feel like we need to grow orderly. I just feel like that if that's what, if our ordinances say that we need to grow orderly, I just feel like it's, we're growing. I understand we're growing out in the county, but there's nothing we can do about the county.
No, there's not. That's irrelevant.
The only thing we can do is about the city.
That's right.
And so I feel like that if we follow, the ordinances give us a little bit of, it says orderly growth and harmonious development within subdivision and within the city. I just feel like sometimes we're putting the cart before the horse on a couple of these
50
items.
homes a year, 'cause we already
70
or 70
or
is
75, right? 75 homes.
But couldn't we in the development agreement even lower
Yes,
that?
we could.
Because this is just pre-approval, right?
This
In
is
the
approval.
agreement, we could ask for less than 75.
Yes, we could.
Right.
And that puts it back, though. I know we can't ask them questions, correct? We have to go off of what was already stated and done,
Well,
kind of.
I don't want to hinder the accurate exchange of information,
Right.
Right.
but my concern is that whenever there's any kind of an interface,
We don't.
that we really need to be sticking to what's been
Well, I
presented
know
in the hearing.
on the testimony, I've heard people say anywhere from 40 to 75.
I believe that was I believe that was what was stated. My concern,
Every one of them had different numbers. Not
So we
everyone
can-
gave an exact.
So we can put that number on there. The question then is, do we hinder them? And they go, well, screw you guys. There's the first 50 and out we go. And we start over. You have to think about that two-sided coin right there too.
Okay, so let's go, I agree with you, but let's go to the green space first. Let's tackle
Okay.
that one. And I'm gonna ask these guys a question. Don't you guys have 3 drainage ponds that are like an acre each? The storm drain ponds?
Yes.
So they're gonna have 3 1-acre ponds that could have parks in them or soccer fields or whatever.
Well, they got to drain water.
Well,
Justin in the state code will tell us what we can do with the drainage
well,
pond, right?
okay, the
Because
soccer
the
field,
pictures they stated in the pictures that we saw at the hearing have basketball courts on those 1-acre deals,
Okay.
which is
That doesn't make any sense.
that
but-
doesn't make any sense. But that was the picture, so I only go off what I see and what I have. So as long as it's something I believe we can also put in the developer agreement.
So why didn't we talk about this when we did the parks? 'Cause it's
We
named-
did.
Named parks,
We did talk about it.
but we didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, they have
No, they
a lot of green space.
They have a lot of green space, but not just besides the retention pond. The one retention pond's almost double when they go to phase 2. So we did talk about it.
Okay. I wasn't here, so I
Yeah, no, you weren't here.
Yeah.
That's one of the things.
That's
that
why
came up.
you didn't talk about it.
Yeah, we talked about it, but it also was the fact that as they developed that, and it came up when we were talking about going across the bridge.
Right.
So is
Not
that,
only do they have a little more green space, but we have access back into the
All
city,
right.
right quick, right there along the canal, all the way down to
the
Fur.
whole area.
Yeah, all the way down and around. So that's what it looks like. So
Yeah, okay. I've seen that on there. Yeah, that's what the green space.
yeah,
so the soccer complex up in Idaho Falls by the airport,
Yep.
that's drainage.
that's their drainage pond for the villages. Well,
This is Idaho. We don't get that much rain that fast. So if we
I
get
know.
rain,
I
it's
know, and I
There's
and I had
some-
other
I've seen-
comment on that too, but that's one of
I've
those
seen some
things
in
that
Idaho Falls filled right to the brim.
some of the drainage ponds, yeah.
Well, I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying that if kids are practicing soccer or having a soccer game and it starts filling up, it's obvious they're going to get off it before it fills.
then it
Yeah.
becomes
Not
a swimming
necessarily.
pool.
Then it becomes a place to go.
Go from baseball to swimming.
That's right.
Because of swimming pool, yeah.
Well, that's why you don't build a ball diamond, it's a soccer field, I guess. What else?
I still haven't. I think traffic's still going to be an issue because I mean, yeah, there's going to be people going out to the country, but I don't think it's going to be that. And you know, and it says here on 1016, it says coordination of streets within the subdivision with existing streets to provide adequate access and traffic.
So that comes back to asking Justin that question about
Well,
what does that look? What does Center Street look like? I don't think that was addressed in our other questions, so we probably can't ask it. But I guess that's where we need to know what is Center Street's feasibility now that it goes out that far, right? Because now we're in charge of that.
Well,
If there's a subdivision in that property, we got to take care of it.
Yeah.
That street. So what does it look like? Is it suitable? Do we have to get it replaced in the next?
If Center Street is not suitable for this traffic, then every town in this valley is in trouble. That's one of the biggest streets.
Well, I'm not
You
saying.
never find that size of
Not
street.
saying
now.
it's not.
I know,
about
but I'm
width,
not saying
it's
about width. I'm saying about condition of the road. Right now, there is no curb and gutter. It starts at the canal and goes, and well, it doesn't really start at the canal. It starts past the canal, and then we get that. So if you go to the canal and out past Geary's, there is nothing out there. We have to put that infrastructure in, or somebody has to put that
Yeah,
in.
it's called an LID.
And okay, well,
Because everybody,
Sandy will not let you do that.
because everybody else was LID'd all the way through there in the 1970s. I remember when Center Street was a 2-lane, 14-foot wide, 24-foot wide strip of asphalt and no curb or gutter all the way from where my office is out.
And now it's
And now it's
3
all-
times that size, and it goes right to the canal, and it goes over the canal, and then it ends up looking like a county road because they're the ones who took care of it.
Oh, it has to be LID at one point, like everybody else. You know,
Okay.
that would be my wish.
There's been 13 LIDs in the history of Shelley. I was only here for 3 of them.
And you don't want to be here for another one.
Well, you're
That
here
would
for
be Sandy's
4
fault.
more years, so we could do one more before.
Do one big
Let's
one.
get one big one in before Sandy leaves.
So I guess, my biggest concern is, I'll just lay it on the table, my biggest concern right now is sewer. We don't have an agreement. We don't know what's going on, right?
We do not have an agreement, but we have submitted the notice of award to the contractor and we're waiting for a response.
So we still have a plan, but we don't have a cemented plan. So yes, that is the biggest concern I have also, is that it's almost like Jenga, right? You play it so far, and then it starts to be, do you really want to pull that piece out? Do you want to just sit there and touch it and poke it? And we're poking this, trying to get it to work, and we all have hope that it's going to take off and do, but it could come back to bite
If
us.
the sewer thing doesn't happen, it's gonna shut down the whole Parks Division too.
Yeah, they're gonna have to go back to square plan B, which is
I don't
have to
see
put
that.
in a lift station
I
and
don't see that happening.
run their own pipe, and then we're gonna still be back.
What does that do,
same phase.
to this development?
Well, I think they're counting on going through, if I remember right. Hooking up to the big pipe across the street.
And the people that we gave the what's the word I'm looking for? The agreement to, like,
The contract.
contract to, they have a history of always accepting it and going forward.
They do, but we just haven't heard back from them. And we don't have a signed developer agreement. Because we keep arguing over these, thys, and those. So,
I guess I'm just more of a trusting person, maybe.
well, thank you for being that.
I'd say
Okay, well,
that's
I'm
fine.
not
It's all
near
good.
as trusting, but I'm take a chance type of person, so
Rolling the dice.
roll the
Craps,
dice.
I'm a craps
But
guy. I
I'm
like
not,
to roll the
okay,
dice.
I am anti put a building moratorium on.
That just
no
puts
matter
it-
what.
That just was like us building a fence around the city.
I'm totally against that. So,
Okay,
Sandy, did we have a pre-application meeting before all this started?
No, we didn't. There was a couple of meetings that the mayor and I met with one, with Mr. Hicks and someone else. And then I talked to Steve several times, but Steve, I asked if you wanted a pre-application meeting and you said that wouldn't be necessary. So we didn't have a pre-application meeting is when both engineers, city engineer, developers, city staff, everyone meets together. No, we did not have one.
There were lots of questions and lots of phone conversation meetings too. I had a couple of them that are designated at the time too. So no, there was no pre-application meeting.
Well, I'm frustrated. I'll be honest with you. I'm really frustrated about this whole thing from that very standpoint. And the standpoint is, I sat on the P&Z, and I was under the impression there was sufficient sewer. I was under the impression that there's sufficient everything. There's not by way of sewer. It goes a completely different way than I was told it was going to be. There's a lot of things that were skipped and missed. It's probably our fault for not doing that. But I think there's all that's come along, and then in addition to that, there's been a lot of collateral that's been thrown up at the issues, trying to clearly see them because of the comments that people make, which is really irrelevant outside of the public hearing. So that's trying to feather through that is what's been difficult for me. But I do have concern about the police, and I do have concern about the sewer. Those are my 2 points I really have serious concern about and angst. I'm worried about the officers just because we're having a difficult time trying to keep them. But if I'm not for building a moratorium because we can't keep police.
Oh, I'm not about building moratorium either.
Okay. Have we beat this dead horse to death? Do we want to make a motion? What do you?
Well, what would be the likelihood that H&K would ever back out of this agreement?
There is a likelihood.
I'm not worried about H&K personally.
Well, I am. I'm worried about that. I don't.
What is your worry about it?
Well, my concern is if we don't have sewer.
Well, that's your concern about sewer. What's your worry about H&K? You think that they're just going to look at it and go, wait, well, we underbid it. No, we don't want it now. We found other work.
No,
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, they come back and say, guess what? We underbid it. We pay you $50,000 liquidation fees, and we'll take our guesses at rebidding this thing at 1.8 million. The costs are going up so damn fast, and so then we're stuck now, not being able to afford it. Even if we had a development agreement with the parks, now we're looking at another $800,000. Where are we going to get that from? To accommodate not just the parks, but this, because the parks could put in a lift station, but it would be sufficient to be able to handle this development as well and meet the DQ standards.
They'd have to put in their own.
That's my concern. It's a big if, but it's my concern that I have. Which is stupid. So we shouldn't have gotten ourselves into this problem.
We would like to fix that.
Anyway, that's my only concern.
So what we're looking at is approving the preliminary plot plan. So if we approve the preliminary plot plan, we still have room to get the development agreement all in place.
To address some of our issues like traffic.
Yeah. Well, I thought we were hiring 2 police officers tonight too.
Nope.
Chief?
One.
Well, we're doing one tonight, and then
One tonight to fill Olay's slots for sure.
Oh.
we're waiting to hear back from the other guy.
Oh,
Okay. Oh, so we're doing just one. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the pre-plot for Fox Crossing.
I'll second it.
been moved and seconded that we approve the pre-plot or the
Preliminary plat.
preliminary plot plan for Fox Crossing. All in favor? Opposed? Well, I guess I get to make the decision, so I'm in favor, so it passes. Now, realizing we have to address a lot of things in the development agreement. And if I get impeached next week, I'm okay with that too.
I was gonna say, I just lost a whole bunch of clients.
Adam's in charge. Go.
You know, I don't think this is an easy one. This is not a black and white issue. Nobody's
not.
gonna lose anything over
It's not a
this.
black and white one, but it's also something we gotta
Because-
take control
But
of.
we
worry about.
need to make sure something is clear to the public, and that is that the town is gonna develop. And people wanna come in and they say, well, we don't want something to develop. We need to make sure we have our ducks in a row as a city, because the reason I voted against it is largely because I'm worried about the sewer. I'm worried that we get it in. But otherwise, this development should go. And any other development that comes in, we need to look at closely. And if we don't like the way the developments are, then we need to change our ordinances.
And I'm gonna bring
But
that.
you know what? We need to be careful about the way we change our ordinances, because we price ourselves out of the market. Because the way the economy is going and the way this world's going, I can see us having homes like this be the type of homes that would be nice to live in. You know, and you're gonna be looking at something else. I mean, driving through Utah just the other day, looking at the number of apartments in Sugar House, Draper, up to Ogden. Everything that's going in is townhomes,
Any ground
condos.
that gets open this town hall.
There's
No
hardly
houses.
any homes being built. So it's just something I think we have to keep in the back of our mind when it comes to this kind of stuff. So anyway,
All
all I
right,
have to say.
moving right along. Next is John here on the purchase of the property from the city. Okay. BJ, what have you found out on that? We've got to put it out for bid?
Yeah.
What-
yeah.
So, we talked a little bit about this, you have to establish fair market value, you have to determine it's in the community's best interest, and then it has to go out for like a sealed bid.
If you sell it to him. I don't know if you were gonna talk about, wasn't one of the things that he was gonna talk to the Cedars?
Cedar said no.
They would-
Oh, okay.
Government,
Subsidized.
subsidize anything they have to do, they have to run it by the government, and they're not
I
they're not
see,
entitled
I
to
see.
do- They don't want to.
Okay, I just knew that was something that had been
And really,
brainstormed before.
if I can say something,
Yeah.
if you look at all the parks, that's the only one that really ain't hurt by that park, because the park's really over there. And if you did sell it, it would square up the park more anyway, because all that is just dry, you know.
So
How
what
big's
we
the
do-
lot behind it that you're purchasing?
I already bought it.
Oh.
I think we looked at that last time. I can't remember exactly. I don't have the deed on me, but it's like a half an acre.
That's almost half an acre. The only concern we have is for you is the fact that we gotta sell it at fair market value. So
I understand.
we have to put it up to bid.
I understand that.
And if somebody else decides they wanna just do something like buy that piece of property,
Yeah,
then you're back in the same boat you were right now.
I know.
How many trees will we lose if we sell? I mean, how
Did we
big?
say 3?
3 or 4.
I think it was just
You could resell
how many
them.
trees were we gonna move
There's a lot
on
of
that piece of property?
there's
there?
companies
Park?
that buy them and
How
will
many trees are we gonna have to move?
And you have
replant
the
them.
size of them.
Was it 3? 4?
Yeah, 2 or 3 or something. There's not very many.
3, I
trees
think
a
it was
year.
3.
Yeah.
No, there's not. There's not.
No.
And one of them's dead anyways, I mean,
Is it really?
well,
Time to move it.
well, somebody went through last summer and stripped all the bark off about 8 feet high, I don't know.
Kids.
Anyways, yeah, it's not coming out of the ground.
Doesn't sound like a cat.
Kids.
According to Google Earth, it's still alive.
You can go there, squeakers over there. Beavers. Beavers
I
coming
mean, the only
down.
other option is kind of go through my sister's, but it's not really a feasible option because she only has 22 feet through a driveway, and
I'm
for me
okay
to
with
build
it.
on it, I really would like to have. I don't have to worry about somebody taking it away from me, like Cedar Apartments or anybody else. I'd like to be able to, you know, own it, so it's mine, and I don't have to worry about somebody saying, "Oh, you don't have a right of way."
Well, if the city decided to sell it, and if you were the highest bidder, that would work.
Right.
But there, I mean, there is uncertainty too, and
I
I think that's the city's main concern is just want to be upfront with how
Oh,
things
I
do. Like,
understand
it could get better,
100%.
or it could get worse,
It
and it's
could.
not under any of our kind of control.
I would just
once we
hope
do that.
nobody wants 20 feet to mow it.
Well, the truth is, you just hope there's not. My concern, and it could go other ways, but my concern is there's just somebody out there that just wants to be a jerk.
Right.
And there are jerks.
Right, I understand that.
Really? There
And they have money.
So there's no other way.
I've personally never met one. I just hear stories,
But
right?
now, did you decide that you needed 30 feet or 20 feet? Because, okay, so it's required to have 30 feet. So are you still going to get the other 10 feet?
They told me they told me that if I was able to get to 20 feet, they'd probably sell me the other 10.
Probably.
Probably. She has to talk to her husband, and they were mad at American Legions because the guy that owned the house, Grant, gave them that 10-foot piece of property, but they never signed it under notarized notarized, so that deed was never any good. So he sold them the house. Now her husband's mad at the American Legions because they wanted it, and they didn't have a signed deed. So there's also, and I looked at this, and you're the attorney, in Idaho, they have what they call crooked fence law. Okay? That means, because a lot of times, like in Island Park and farmers, if a fence is up over a period of 10 to 12 years, it's considered boundary. You guys actually have been taking care of that 10 feet for the last 25 years or whatever long that park's been there. That fence has been there ever since. So technically, just one knows how technically you want to get, actually, the city basically can own that other 10 feet because you have probably even run your sprinkler heads all the way over there. You have mowed it for 10 years. Nobody's ever claimed it. So I don't know how that goes, but that was just something that it was brought up to me that if a fence has been there and it's been considered a boundary, after so many years, it is a boundary.
It can be.
It can be, yeah.
It's a pretty fact-intensive inquiry, and it goes to the understanding and the intent of the parties. And I mean,
right.
There's a little bit more to it than just.
I understand. They call it the crooked fence law, whatever you want to call it. That's
yeah. No, I'm not arguing. I mean, there is a way. I'm just saying I'm not saying that's where we're at. That's all.
But I would rather buy the 20 and try to buy the 10 off them personally. But I'm just saying it's because they didn't even know it was theirs in the first place.
Okay, so I need a motion to go ahead and find out the fair market value and then put it out for.
I don't have I did this write up, I think, for the last meeting, and I didn't review it. And I don't know if we have a copy of it this morning. Do you know offhand and what kind of the procedure?
Well, first of all, we need to make sure, because we talked about if we went forward with this, requiring John to put up a fence between his driveway and the park. So, I mean, if we might need to make sure he agrees with that before we go to all this problem.
I have no problem with even a vinyl white picket fence or whatever you want. I don't care.
So basically, they have to deem it in the public's best interest and then get a fair market value on it, and then we have to advertise for the bids.
Yeah.
And have a date to.
And accept bids. Yeah. I apologize. I wrote up that little summary, sent it to you, and then just put it in the background. Yeah. So it's not fresh.
Yeah, other things.
Sorry.
And I have it somewhere here, I think.
See, I might be able to pull it up in my email history. If you guys want me to double check that real quick.
Well, where do we need to move from here?
Well, first you need to make a motion to deem it in the public's best
Yeah.
interest and move forward with obtaining a fair market value.
Yeah.
Okay,
Or I'll make a motion that I'll make a motion that it's in the public's best interest to get a fair market value for this piece of property.
I'll second it.
it's been moved and seconded that we, go ahead and move forward and get a fair market value, for the property. All in favor? 4 in favor. Okay. Perfect. Next, recognize citizens from the floor.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Nothing. Okay, new council business licenses. Like that whole tribe of them.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve business license for Family Dollar and beer and wine sales.
I'll second it.
For what do
Beer
we,
and wine sales. for
Beer and
$1
wine sales is the first one.
Family Dollar sells wine and beer?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Carry out only.
Family Dollar.
Carry out only. Best
Well,
price
I don't
in
do
town.
enough shopping in Family Dollar.
Okay.
I can't imagine what 99 cents tastes like. Don't even want to think about it.
Okay.
And my palate's just a little
It's
bit
been
higher.
moved and seconded that we approve the first two. All in favor? 4 in favor. Okay.
I make a motion that we approve all the other business licenses as constituted.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve all the other business licenses as constituted. All in favor? 4 in favor. Okay. Next on the agenda, consider acquisition of a K-9 unit.
Adam, I put that on there because I wasn't
Yep.
sure where we was
I
at.
just letting everybody know that, so Rod has signed it and he's getting it to Golden Valley tomorrow.
Beautiful. They will be so happy.
Okay.
We're
So we
getting
don't
you
need to
up.
make a motion on it because we've got to wait till we get a signature from them.
Actually, no, I think.
We already did, we
we
already
already
approved
approved
it
it.
based
Yeah.
upon taking the additional
Yes,
insurance off.
removing
Which we
the
did.
initiative. Yeah,
So we're good to
yeah.
go.
And I think there's a couple other little minor kind of changes, but
One
The
of the
big
minor
issue.
changes they put in is if there's any major vet bills that we'd have to cover as a city, which I guess I don't know.
Potato.
Yeah.
That's kind of where, right.
no, I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
So just to carry on from that, 'cause I don't know what we discussed at the last meeting.
Whatever.
They wanted to be named as additional insured. That is not possible. It's part of the state constitution, and they have the Idaho Code and Constitution
And I sent that to
article.
Brandon.
And also, if there's something majorly wrong with the dog, and it's some type of liability, they will cover that 25,000 per occurrence through ICRAM. So the dog will be covered.
It's like an officer, right?
So we don't have to worry about it getting bit by a chip.
Well, it's not-
Something
not
like
workman's
But don't let
comp.
it get bit by a chip.
Yeah, right.
Can we buy Aflac on that or anything, you know?
Aflac.
That's
Did you
two.
say?
Okay,
What did you say?
consider adopting ordinance to rezone Hyatt property. Hyatt. That's the one by, it was supposed to be storage units and now is
Yeah, it's
it?
right behind Richardson Concrete.
Yeah,
Yeah, and your ordinances that I give you are off to one side. I already give you mine.
Oh,
I've
you
got
are-
a copy.
Jeff, you are the man.
Okay, someone's got to do the ordinance for.
Oh, gotta read the effective date.
Go ahead.
Ooh,
It looks
527.
like
I
I'm
want you to
charged
notice
that all I'm
there's even
doing.
numbers on
I
it.
know
Right.
Sandy's got it ready to go. I move that we suspend the reading of ordinance number 527 on 3 different dates and read the title of ordinance 527, City of Shelley, Union County, Idaho, an ordinance amending the zoning designation of certain lands and the zoning map and providing for an effective date. Once.
A second?
Oh, there you go. Hello.
Okay.
Jeez, we are
Okay,
lost.
Jeff,
Aye.
Aye.
Kim,
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
okay.
And then you have to
You
make a
guys
motion
even working?
to
What are you guys
So-
doing?
Now we gotta have a motion
adopt.
to
I'll
adopt.
make, I'll move I move to adopt the ordinance number 527, City of Shelley County, Idaho, regarding an ordinance amending the zoning destination of certain lands and the zoning map and providing for an effective date.
And I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we go ahead and accept this ordinance 527. Jeff,
Aye.
Leif, Okay, next on the agenda is consider adopting ordinance to amend code 10-8-82.
Okay, just to clarify, these are the RE regulations that are on this ordinance. They were adopted some time ago. The only thing this is doing is adding them to a different section of the code, which is 10.8.2, which is the chart that shows that. Okay?
Yeah, do we have to read that thing again?
Yep, we got to do the whole thing.
Who's doing it this time?
Here, give it to me.
You got it? Here.
All right, I move to suspend the reading of ordinance number 527, City of Shelley.
528.
Did I say 527?
Yeah.
Man, I went to Shelley. That was my fault. I move to suspend the reading of ordinance number 528, City of Shelley, Bingham County, an ordinance setting forth the minimum area and setback regulations for the residential estate zoning district in section 10-8-2 of the city code.
I second it.
On 3 different days,
Oh,
and read
sorry.
the title of ordinance number
You're
521.
a little quick on
There
the
you go.
trigger there, Kim.
I second it.
Okay, you seconded it. Okay. Jeff.
Aye.
Look,
Aye.
Kim.
Aye.
Adam.
Aye.
4 in favor.
I move to adopt ordinance number 528, City of Shelley, Bingham County, ordinance setting forth the minimum area and setback regulations for the RE zone.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Jeff.
Aye.
Life.
Aye.
Kim.
Aye.
Adam.
Aye.
4 in favor. Okay, next on the agenda is consider street light on North Park Avenue. Justin, anything?
Yes, Rocky Mountain Power got back with us today on that. The light pole that's over there right now in Parkview and North Park, we would have to add another pole down the line, maybe 20, 30 feet, and put our own pole and our own light on that. And then it would be, there is clearance on the pole they have, but what we're trying to get away from is we've got so many different poles mixed up through the city. They're trying to come up with a standard and go with that. So ideally, if we put our own pole, our own light, there is a J box there. We could put a J box next to it, run conduit, pole power. Them are kind of the steps it's got to take. I'm guessing probably between 3,000 and 4,000 to do that. So
Yeah.
Expensive light. We said let there be light. It was not cheap.
and then, like I say, it's something we've got to have our electricians come in and do, right? So that'll be passed off to the state and stuff like that.
That's the one on North Park.
Yeah.
That's one on North Park and Parkview right there. Yeah.
I vote we table that one.
Okay. I make a motion that we table the street light on North Park until we get more information on the cost.
Who all needs that? Who's all been, refresh my mind, who's all in
I
need
think
of
we've
that?
got some neighbors over there, just complaining and concerned about how
Dark.
dark.
How
it
dark
is.
it is.
And if you guys like drive over there at night, it
I
is
know,
dark,
I've
right?
driven by there, it's right there by the Catholic church.
Yeah,
It's
when you
dark
roll in
now,
out
yeah.
there, it is a dark spot, especially having Parkview right in there, trying to come out that intersection, it is dark. It really is.
If we table it, what do we hope to accomplish?
Find out exactly.
Well, we got another light right after it. We got to figure out how much we're paying for that one
Okay, I get it.
that we've already approved.
Somebody want to second it?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we table it till the next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now, the next one is, discuss street light
Unless I'm-
previously approved
That's
on
what we're
South
doing.
Milton.
Thanks, Alan.
Justin?
So that was put on there because Adam had talked to Mr. Fernandez and wanted to know where we was at. So all that was approved at a cost of $3,000.
Right.
We just-
He just wanted to know what was going on.
We just have had a problem because they've been so busy, the electricians have been so busy, right,
Okay.
Justin? To be
Yeah,
able to get.
electricians have been busy. I've reached out to them a few times this year. And I haven't like forced them and been like, we gotta get this done now,
Right.
right? There's just a lot of things been going on. So
Okay. All right.
the
He just
money's
wanted an
approved,
update.
The electricians know about it. It's just a matter of getting,
Okay.
I did talk to them today also, and they are slowing down a little bit, and where the ground hasn't froze yet. They're gonna check availability on power poles and see when we can get them. We might start like in the next week or two if the weather.
Okay. I'll let
If
Richard
not,
know.
we'll get on it first thing in the spring.
Okay.
All right. Next on the agenda, approval of new hire for police department. Chief?
I've got somebody that I would like to hired to fill the 1108 slot that we lost when Officer Mann went to Blackman PD. We got lucky. This one is he's already a certified officer, so we would not have to send him to the academy. His name is Eddie Eduardo Ballesteros. He is a certified officer. He's 33, he has a wife, 2 small kids, and he lives in Blackman. And I've got him set to start December 27th.
So where was he an officer for here?
Blackman. I'm sorry,
County.
Bacon County. He'll come to us with 2 years experience in the jail and 4 or 5 years of experience road.
Right.
So
7 years. You guys feel good about it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you sit in on the interview?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
So, does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the hiring of Eddie Ballesteros.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to go ahead and approve the hiring of
You have to
Eddie
do the 6
Ballesteros.
months.
it will be the same, even though we won't have him on contract, he'll still be, he'll have to go through our full FTO program.
Okay.
He'll be on a year probation, that if he's not what we need, or we may not be what he needs, he knows that, a standard year of probation, he can be let go if it doesn't work out. And is also going to send a psych involvement. I want to go ahead and keep that standard.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, you didn't say what level you was bringing him in or anything.
Right now, since he comes to us already certified, I've talked to him. We'll bring him in at a level 1, and then after the year probation, if everything works out well, then we'll look at raising him from there.
Okay, after 1 year. So level 1 with a possible increase after 1 year.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Did I get all in favor?
No, you haven't did that yet.
No.
Have you?
Did I get a
You
second?
didn't ask. We got a second.
Okay,
Ken
all in
seconded
favor.
it.
Okay, 4 in favor.
And the beautiful thing with Eddie, he's also bilingual as well.
I would say that's
That will
great.
help.
Fluent in speaking, writing, Spanish.
Okay, good. Consider drafting a letter to the county commissioners to set up a work meeting to discuss urban sprawl.
Once again, I think that's me, if I may speak. I just would like to see us as a city write this letter and make it so that we can have other signatories on it as well. Send it around to some of the large landowners in the area and have them sign on to it. I've talked to a number of these landowners and they're willing to sign on it from all the way from here to Goshen.
Well, that's
Do you want to write the letter?
That's towards the county
What's that?
seat, but
Do you want me to write the letter?
Yeah.
I can write the letter if you want me to. You want me to draft it?
draft it.
Okay,
Send it out. Let's fix
make a
it.
motion to do it.
I make a motion that we draft a letter and send it to the county commissioners and set up a meeting for urban sprawl.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
4 in favor. Okay.
So you all sign it then, right?
You bet.
Old council business, North Bingham County Park.
Yeah.
So I got a rough draft on the agreement with North Bingham County Park from John Dewey yesterday. I'll send it over so you can take a look at it. Which is John Dewey. He's their attorney.
Their attorney.
For the county?
Yeah.
He's one of their county attorneys.
So, anyways, I will get that over to BJ to take a look at. But it does talk about mostly about we can use their water for 2 years, and then after that we need to make sure we get water.
Okay. All
That's
right.
where we're at.
All right, BJ, got anything for us? All right, Sandy.
Yes, so each of you should have gotten an email from me telling you what your new email address is and your password. So
Beware, it doesn't work, so just
Does do work. Mine works fine.
Yeah, well, mine doesn't.
Mine worked perfect.
Did
She's
you
not
log
the
into
type of
Google? You
password.
have to go into Google.
Yeah, now I have to put a password in to answer my phone. Michael.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
That's not me, that's not Morgan, sir.
So you didn't have a grandkid help you, did you?
Well, I actually had Michael help.
Yeah, that's the
I
problem.
have 4 emails now. No, 6 emails I have to answer.
I gotta keep going. I only
Okay,
got 4.
so as of
I'm getting to catch you.
the 14th, which is today, your cable one will no longer work.
We never did anyway.
So, anyway, and I know a lot of you didn't use that, but a few of you did. So anyway, as long as you've all got my email and you've got signed on, that's what we're going to start sending all of your email to, is that cityofshelley.org email, okay?
That's where BJ sent his stuff today.
Okay, so if you have any problems, let me know, unless you're the mayor.
Then we'll have to fix his.
I've let her know several times. She can't figure it out either.
Yeah, that's why I'm too old to figure that kind of stuff out. We need somebody who's more technology savvy.
Well, we can look at it later.
Here, I
Do
was
you know
counting
who's
on.
really good? William. William is good.
Well, hey, Michael's been great, but Jasmine erased my old one, thinking that maybe that the new one would load.
No, that's not how that
But
works.
anyway, then Michael took it over and he had it all figured out so my thumbprint would work on it. No, you put a code in or you don't answer the phone. So
Why is your
It's because you have an iPhone.
Why is your phone?
No, iPhones are
why is
wonderful.
your phone tied to it?
Your phone.
it's an iPhone.
I know. We need to look at your phone.
Your phone.
I think we
I
got
love
you,
iPhones.
Mayor. We got you covered, Mayor. We'll get you hooked up.
Okay, the only other thing I have to remind you of is on the 23rd, we're going to close at noon for the luncheon. So just all of you remember, and I'll try to send out a little text or
And
something.
we're just doing potluck.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead. The city will provide, like, I'm going to do a meat tray and rolls again, and then the drinks, and then usually everybody brings us a little bit of something. Who can bring something? Just a little hors d'oeuvre.
Is Kelly gonna bring something?
Chocolate lasagna.
That's good.
What time is
Sounds
that?
good.
What are you doing on the 23rd?
I never tried that.
What time are we doing that?
Dude, you're missing out.
Apparently.
Yeah, who's all going to be there that day? Is everyone going to be there? I didn't even know if I have to go to your house to give you a gift or if you're going to come here so I can give you that.
That's kind of. I'll be here because I'm gonna hand out gifts.
Hey, guess what? I'm gonna show up so I can get a gift.
How's that sound? Great. Good, dude.
You all really need to be there because if it starts at noon, probably at 12:30, I have a special presentation for the mayor. So if you'll all be there for that.
Well, that's a whole reason to come for
Wow.
lunch and bring a treat.
Special
Bring
presentation
something.
there.
The
What do
special.
what do you
Oh.
what do you
Yeah,
need?
no,
By
yeah.
the way,
You
for
know, if you
that.
want to bring like just some kind of maybe a dessert or a side dish, like I usually bring little smokies. We usually have like hors d'oeuvres to go with the
Hors d'oeuvres to
sandwiches.
go with sandwiches.
Yeah, and we'll have
Okay.
sandwich and chips and drinks. So
Okay.
just whatever.
Okay,
Sounds good.
Michael.
I think we're doing
Yes,
that.
basketball's going good. The jersey orders are in, so we get all those handed out.
I'll graze all morning.
Practice is going good. Main Street Council, they've been a good group of kids. They've made all the snowmen. We're going to the gables tomorrow, hand those out. So, and then they have come up with a couple new ideas. The Idaho Falls and the Iona Mayor's Youth Council have reached out to me and they kind of want to do something together, so we might be doing that.
Oh, that's
Good.
great.
Hmm.
Good.
Okay.
That's all I've got. So everything's going good. I think.
And games start in January for
January 8th, is that not the first day.
What are you doing? What are you doing camp for referee camp?
So I'm having that meeting with a bunch of them, but a lot of the rest have already started basketball.
Yeah.
So I just have a couple of them going to meet up after we get the week after Christmas.
And they know that.
Yeah.
The ones who,
I'm talking to most of them on Thursday. So
I just have one that doesn't talk back to me. He just assumes that I know.
don't-
And I don't
talk all
know.
the time, don't worry about it.
I know. I was
Hey,
gonna
he
say,
doesn't
it's
talk back. He
always
just
fun.
doesn't listen to you.
Oh, yeah, yes, you're right on that too.
All right, Dave.
I'm just happy to be here.
All right, awesome. Justin.
That was fast.
Dave's like he's tired. He wants to go too.
Skip over me for a
So
second.
the trail got planted about a week and a half ago. We put a bunch of orange fiberglass poles out there trying to keep people off.
I checked on that. I have no idea.
Yeah,
People
and
stealing
anyways,
them?
about a third or fourth of them fiberglass poles have disappeared.
I wonder. Dave kids.
They're in somebody's yard, everybody's driveways, evidently.
They really are.
I want you to know I
I
had
want
mine
to.
up before you put yours up.
Me
Yeah.
too. I have those, but it's my little old ladies. They can't see unless we put them up.
Yeah, so I don't know what else to do to try to keep traffic off of it, right? People keep pulling off in it, making ruts, making a mess, running over heads. I don't know what else to do at this point, so
People are the
hopefully the
worst.
ground will freeze, we'll get through the winter and start again.
I think you need to line it with 2x4s with nails.
Hey, I know a guy
I
who
like
has
that
some
idea.
very big rocks, or at least he said they were big and they're little. We can put them out there
Yeah.
too.
Anyway, we'll work through that.
I know a contractor to put little boulders out there.
We might have to go with.
Dug them up out of the front of
Other
Adam's
than that,
field.
things are going. We're working the shop, snow plows are on trucks are service. We're ready for the first storm whenever it shows up. Might be tonight, tomorrow morning, I don't know. So
All right.
things are going good, but thanks.
All right, Chief.
Nothing much, let's see,
It's
11:06, we'll be leaving the 1st of January to go to the academy. By the end of the month, I'll hopefully have 11:08 starting. So we're just swapping, we'll gain one and down one for 3 months, but that's par for course.
And we'll probably have 1109 next.
Where by next meeting, I'm supposed to have
Right.
one more name for you. So, he will, if I go the direction I'm pretty sure I'm going, he is a non-certified, so we'll have to send him to the academy. Other than that, winter's coming, I'll be putting the pull behind radar trailer away. Other than that, everything is going really, really well. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to everyone.
When do we get the dog? How long?
We'll start putting that together tomorrow. We'll start making calls and talk to the kennels and start getting plans.
Awesome.
Jeff.
I just wanted to thank BJ and Dave for your expertise in this whole issue that's leading up to tonight. For all the efforts you guys put in on our behalf, appreciate that. I think it's nice to have guys that we can always look to rely on and make informed decisions. So appreciate all that you guys have done. You know you're going to charge us for it. Well, thank you for it.
Well, at least
Because at least you
That's
give us
the-
your professional.
That's the tired talking over here in the corner.
No, I mean it could no, that's not tired. No, I'm just saying you could charge us and give us bogus information, but you guys I think that's a good job. That's all I have.
Life.
Thank you. Yes, on both sides of that, going to very helpful for us as a group. There's also other things I saw, and I'll get with Sandy and I'll put them in the minutes. As I read through the ordinances and looked at some of the stuff, there's some really cool things inside of our ordinances that I think because of tradition or because of lack of power or manpower or whatever you want to call it, we haven't placed. It's written in there. Let's figure out a way to start working it and make it better for all of us involved.
Yeah.
So that as these things keep coming up, and I know they're going to get deeper and wider, and we're going to start to deal with commercial and other such, at least then we'll have some more help involved. I did talk to. Go ahead.
Well, with that same thought, similar experiences, I went through it too, and I talked with Dave about this a couple meetings ago too. About do we need to change our ordinances, or do we have a pretty decent setup? We just haven't experienced this kind of growth, at least in my tenure here since 2004. And so, Dave's thought was, no, the ordinances are pretty good. We just need to follow them. We need to become aware of them. We need to become familiar with them. We need to follow them. And part of that is the follow-up that I think, and I don't know where we're at on this. I should have mentioned this earlier, but we really ought to do some training with the P&Z.
I was going to say I ran into Shane today.
I think that you already kind of instructed us to do that. We just need to, I guess, find a time that works, and maybe in January or something we can.
I think that I think our ordinance do need some work, especially the
Yeah.
subdivision ordinance, and we've talked about that many times over the past many years.
Yeah.
That it's okay, but there needs to be some clarification in some of the items.
Very much so, and also
Oh, yeah.
some clarification on people. I mean, it states right in our ordinance that we're supposed to go back to the subdivision committee. And I'm like, committee? And then it's an administrator, and then it's this, and then it's,
Well,
there's lots of,
it was taken partly from Iowa Falls.
yeah, so there's a lot of things in there that I can see that either we need to adopt or change one way or the other. And I'm talking to Shane tonight. I ran into him when I was at the grocery store before I got here, and he's given me a name for P&Z, and I'll go talk to that person and bring it get with him and see if that person wants to do that or not. And he said we need some more people because we don't
I
want
have
to
a
be
name. Do you
so.
recall him? Yeah. I thought you were over music.
Yeah, I did call that person.
So who'd you call? And would you send me a
I'll
text
give you a
on
name.
that?
Well,
Give me a text. I can
We'll
talk to him too.
we'll talk.
But I also want to let Shane know. But the other side of that coin is that we can have. It states right in our ordinance that we can have someone from inside the impact zone. So
Yeah.
now that we have a subdivision, we can have somebody that's outside that. We can have somebody whatever. So as I look at it, there's not a lot of people in the impact zone. They live in the city because I think that's how Earl kind of did it.
But that was in place when we had jurisdiction in the impact zone.
Okay.
So that's one of those little remnants left laying there, that when we were actually required to have at least 3 members on the
Yep.
P&Z from the impact area,
Uh-huh.
because we had jurisdiction in the impact area. When we had to go back and renegotiate the impact area agreement because of the court case Ada versus Blaha, at that time that kind of dissolved.
Everybody dissolves.
Well-
Well, we got to change the ordinance because our ordinance reads that a person could be inside the impact zone and be on the council, on the commission.
It's a big job to update any ordinances, and
Right.
like you say, we pillage bits and pieces from other cities. There's the big, codifiers, right? There's people that produce like model codes, and a lot of times that's the only way that smaller cities can adopt, and have at least a starting point. But no, I think your point's well taken too, and it's hard work. Planning is hard work. Do we want to talk about our comprehensive plan again? Going
It's
through
time.
that, did you
Past.
want to do any
Yeah, it's
cleanup?
past
Wasn't
that.
it 2015?
Yeah, we did it when I was
So
got on the
that was
planning
for
zone.
that was for 2010.
Planning is hard work.
It was done in 2015.
and it
was for
requires
2010, so it's supposed to be done again.
Yeah,
a lot of
we're
thoughtful
running 6 years, 7 years.
consideration.
So I just wanted to bring that stuff up that I noticed as I was doing the research that we were asked to look at. So
Okay, Kim.
I just want to thank everybody also. It's Christmas season. I want to tell everyone how appreciative I am, just not of all the city stuff, but for their friendship and everything. This was a hard decision for the people that's watching. But it's hard because I have a business in Shelley. I have a lot of people that are going to be upset. And I hope that I can convey my feelings we all try to do our best here. We try to do the best that we can. And I'm not in this position for any other reason that I love this community and I want to see what's best for it. And this has also been an education for me here. So I hope they understand that. And just to say that I am very lucky to sit on this board with every one of you guys, because you guys are just not councilmen, you're my friends, and I appreciate all of you.
Yeah,
That's
thank
it.
you. Adam.
I agree with you, Kim. I think the deliberations which we had tonight were good. We had good discussion. Obviously, some things we need to work on, we need to go through, but yeah. And I just want to tell Justin, those lights are awesome. Every year those lights go up there. It's amazing how many people comment on those. How good they
or
are,
notice
so.
like when the Christmas tree was out the other day.
Yeah, I had a lot of phone calls that day.
Yeah, I bet. And I didn't call you when my wife and my children both said the lights out in the city park, Dad. I said I'm sure somebody else has called him, so I didn't call you because it was on the next day.
Anyways, and I do want to tell the police how much it's good to have. I think we have a good set of guys, and I think that they really dedicate themselves to keeping this place in a good order. So, but we hope to get fully staffed up here pretty quick. So, but it's a challenge sometimes. So.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
All right, well,
Mayor, can I have a do-over here real quick?
as long as it's less than 30
I
seconds.
just wanted to say that Irwa is now moved to court hearings on their issue. We've now passed it so that it's going to be going to the court to be heard whether we can have it, out to vote, but it looks like everything's smooth sailing,
In line.
so.
Okay, good.
Well, on our way.
Good.
That's all I have.
All right, the only thing I have is Christmas lights look great. I too appreciate the police and all that they do. I know their job's not easy because we hand off a lot of stuff to them. And I appreciate working with everyone. People are doing a great job. And this was a tough decision tonight. To be honest with you, I've been on the fence all week, well, the last week and a half over this, and I've read an awful lot, and I've thought an awful lot, and I've looked at a lot, just because I'll be the first to admit I don't have the answers, but I didn't want to put a building moratorium on either. So I don't want developers to think, oh, Shelley's closed and go somewhere else. So we've got to have, I've always said either we're growing or we're dying. And if we're dying, our taxes are going up. If we're growing, hopefully we can keep our taxes from going up. So, and with that being said, call this meeting adjourned.
Good question.
Because of that, because I was, and guess what?
Sandy. I need
It was
to
only
leave.
like nothing. Oh, I see.
Josh.
Go ask.
Okay, we've run it all through.
So then you guys can vote to submit.
Okay.
the letter.
Okay, I just wanted, I one of those ones still moving.
I don't think he thinks we're fucking.
Well, did he talk to
Josh.
our ordinance?
I'll have everything.
Evidently